Halloween is coming, and what's better than a marathon of the spookiest, creepiest, and most iconic horror movies? From chilling classics to modern nightmares, here are 10 films that will set the perfect scary mood for your Halloween night. What if a $300,000 movie shot in just a few weeks changed the face of horror forever? That's exactly what Halloween 1978 did. Directed by John Carpenter and co-written by Deborah Hill, Halloween introduced us to Michael Myers, a mysterious psychopath who, at 6 years old, kills his sister on Halloween night in 1963. 15 years later, he escapes from a sanitarium and returns to his hometown of Haddonfield to terrorize teenage babysitters, especially Laurie Strode, portrayed by Jamie Lee Curtis in her debut. Meanwhile, Dr. Samuel Loomis, Donald Pleasance, tracks him, warning of pure evil. What's even more astonishing, this tiny independent film grossed around $70 million, making it one of the most profitable indie horror releases ever. It was later added to the U.S. National Film Registry for its cultural and aesthetic significance. Halloween didn't just launch sequels, it launched a legacy. A masked stalker, uneasy suburban nights, and the final girl archetype became staples of horror cinema. Are there any modern slashers that owe their soul to this film? The Exorcist, 1973, directed by William Friedkin and based on William Peter Blatty's novel, shocked audiences like no film before. It tells the story of Regan McNeil, a young girl whose strange illness spirals into terrifying signs of demonic possession. Two priests, Father Marin and Father Karras, risk everything to save her in a battle between faith and pure evil. Behind the scenes, the film gained a reputation for being cursed. Sets caught fire, actors were injured, and the exorcism scenes were filmed on freezing sets chilled to minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit to capture Regan's frosty breath. Audiences fainted, vomited, and fled theaters. Released in December 1973, The Exorcist became a cultural phenomenon, grossing over $441 million worldwide and earning 10 Oscar nominations. The first horror film to be up for Best Picture. More than gore, it terrified with its themes of doubt, innocence, and the clash of science with the supernatural, forever changing the face of horror. What if the monster could kill you in your dreams? That's the terror Wes Craven created in A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. The film stars Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon, and a young Johnny Depp, introducing the world to Freddy Krueger, a child killer burned alive by parents who returns in nightmares to hunt their kids. Die in the dream, die in reality. Shot in 32 days for just $1.1 million, it grossed over $57 million and made New Line Cinema a major player. Freddy's look was unforgettable. The red-green sweater designed to disturb, and the iconic glove with razor blades. Craven blurred dream and reality so effectively, audiences never felt safe, awake, or asleep. Today, Elm Street is a horror classic, spawning sequels and turning Freddy into a cultural icon. Proof that sometimes the scariest place isn't a haunted house. It's your own mind. When Friday the 13th hit theaters on May 9th, 1980, nobody expected a $550,000 slasher to spark a horror empire. Directed by Sean S. Cunningham and written by Victor Miller, this film sends teenage camp counselors to reopen the haunted Camp Crystal Lake, where a dark past, a drowned boy, long-abandoned cabins, becomes the backdrop for brutal, relentless murders. Shot in New Jersey over summer 1979, the film captured both raw fear and a voyeuristic tension with little-known actors, including Adrienne King and Betsy Palmer. Even its killer identity shocks. Unlike most slashers, the murderer revealed at the end is Pamela Voorhees, a mother driven by grief and vengeance. It earned that bargain. The film grossed nearly $60 million worldwide, making it a massive return on its modest budget. Though critics slammed its violence, Friday the 13th became a cornerstone of the slasher genre. It set rules we still see: the final girl, the isolated setting, and moral warnings wrapped in gore. What if your worst nightmares lived under the sewer grates? It, 2017, directed by Andy Muschietti and based on Stephen King's novel, follows a group of outcast kids in Derry, Maine, the Losers Club, as they face Pennywise, the shape-shifting clown who preys on children every 27 years. Shot in and around Port Hope, Ontario, Muschietti built a chilling contrast between childhood innocence and monstrous horror. Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise, with his smile, voice, and unsettling tilt of the head, became one of the most iconic modern horror villains. The film balances friendship, trauma, and fear with moments of genuine terror, creepy balloons, red sewer water, clown visits. Critics praised it for its nostalgic visuals, strong performances by the young cast, and faithful adaptation of King's tension. Box office: over $700 million worldwide. A huge success that proved horror still holds power. It doesn't just scare you, it reminds you fear can hide where you least expect it. What if your family was haunted not by ghosts, but by its own bloodline? Hereditary, 2018, Ari Aster's chilling debut, turns grief into horror. After her secretive mother's death, Annie Graham and her family begin to unravel. Strange visions, seances, and dark symbols hint that something ancient has marked them. When tragedy strikes again, the shocking death of Annie's daughter Charlie, grief transforms into full-blown nightmare. Every scream, shadow, and whisper builds toward a horrifying truth. This isn't just madness, it's a ritual. With its haunting score, claustrophobic sets, and Colette's unforgettable performance, Hereditary explores how trauma, guilt, and fate can consume generations. The result? A modern horror masterpiece where family isn't just everything, it's the curse itself. What if your dream home was built on a curse? The Conjuring, 2013, directed by James Wan, redefined modern horror. Not with gore, but with unbearable tension and faith-driven terror. Based on the real case files of paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, it follows the Perron family, who move into an old farmhouse in Rhode Island, only to find themselves tormented by a dark, vengeful spirit. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga deliver haunting performances, grounding the supernatural chaos in deep emotion. Wan's mastery of atmosphere, the silence before a door creaks, the slow reveal of a shadow, creates fear that crawls under your skin. Made for just $20 million, it terrified audiences worldwide, earning over $318 million and spawning an entire cinematic universe. The Conjuring isn't just a ghost story, it's a chilling reminder that evil can live where love once did. Would you dare spend one night in that house? Dare spend one. What if the danger wasn't in your house, but in your mind? Insidious, 2010, directed by James Wan, takes the haunted house genre and turns it inside out. When young Dalton falls into an unexplainable coma, his parents, played by Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne, discover that their son's soul is trapped in a nightmarish realm called the Further. What follows isn't just a battle against ghosts, it's a descent into the subconscious, where fear itself takes form. Wan builds dread through silence, shadow, and suggestion, crafting scares that feel psychological as much as supernatural. With its eerie, red-faced demon, unsettling score, and shocking twists, Insidious became an instant modern classic, redefining what low-budget horror could achieve. Costing just $1.5 million and earning nearly $100 million worldwide, it proved that true terror doesn't need blood, want only imagination, because sometimes the scariest place to be is asleep. What if isolation itself could drive you mad? The Shining, 1980, directed by Stanley Kubrick and based on Stephen King's novel, isn't just a horror film. It's a descent into psychological chaos. Jack Nicholson delivers an unforgettable performance as Jack Torrance, a struggling writer who takes a winter caretaker job at the remote Overlook Hotel. But as the snow traps his family inside, the hotel's dark history begins to seep into his mind, twisting love into madness. Shelley Duvall's fragile terror as Wendy and young Danny Lloyd's eerie red rum make the tension unbearable. Kubrick's precise direction, from the endless hallways to the haunting score and iconic imagery, turns every frame into a nightmare you can't wake from. Though divisive at release, The Shining became one of the most influential horror films ever made, redefining the genre through atmosphere, ambiguity, and pure psychological dread. All work and no play indeed. What if horror movies knew they were horror movies? Scream, 1996, directed by Wes Craven, reinvented the slasher genre by turning its own cliches inside out. Set in the small town of Woodsboro, a masked killer known as Ghostface begins a deadly game, taunting victims with horror trivia before striking. Neve Campbell stars as Sydney Prescott, a teenager haunted by her mother's murder, now forced to survive a real-life nightmare straight out of the movies. With sharp wit and brutal suspense, Scream blends self-aware humor with genuine terror, reminding audiences why rules like "never say I'll be right back" exist. Kevin Williamson's script and Craven's direction created a perfect balance of satire and scares, reviving the genre for a new generation. Grossing over $170 million on a modest budget, Scream didn't just parody slasher films, it resurrected them. The call is coming from inside the house. Do you answer? From masked killers to haunted houses, these 10 movies capture the true spirit of Halloween. Whether you love gore, ghosts, or just spooky vibes, there's something here for every kind of horror fan. Grab some popcorn, dim the lights, and get ready for a scary night.